NBA Finals. Let's dive in. OKC and Indiana. The Thunder, a minus 700 favorite over the Pacers. That makes them the biggest Finals favorite since 2018 when the Warriors, the KD Warriors, were minus 1,200 against Cleveland. Golden State would sweep that series. The Thunder have the MVP. That's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He averaged 39 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds this year in 2 games against Indiana. Both of them were Thunder wins. His opponent, by the way, is Tyrese Halliburton, and he really struggled in those 2 games against OKC. In fact, that is putting it lightly. He averaged just 11 points, his fewest against any opponent this season. Let's take a deeper dive into that. 11 points a game and just 5.5 assists in those 2 games, tied for his fewest against any opponent this year. Indiana minus 32 with him on the floor in those games, his worst plus minus against any opponent this year. And as I mentioned, we've got Brian Windhorst, the Windman, is up early with us from OKC ahead of game 1 tonight. And Indy, in our first hour, we dove into Halliburton and the pressure that is on him to get it done here. The world is not giving the Pacers much of a chance. It's a small sample size. In the 2 games he played against OKC this year, it's only 2 games. But he really struggled and they dominated. What is the key for him in the Indiana offense tonight?
Yeah, the Pacers thrive on being able to pick mismatches and attack them. Their offensive strategy is to play very fast, get you before you set your defense, and when you set your defense, find the mismatches and take advantage. But the problem is there are no mismatches against the Thunder. They're so strong defensively. And the issue with Halliburton is he's at his best when he's scoring and creating. When he scores 20-plus points, they've basically been unbeatable this season. But what the Thunder do so well is they prevent him from even generating shots because they fight him so hard in the pick and roll. So you're going to have to see the Pacers really lean into what the Thunder will give. What they will give is 3-point shooting. And I know that sounds cliche in the modern NBA. The team that makes their 3-point shots was going to have an advantage, but it really matters against OKC.
Greeny, here's why I don't think it's going to happen for Indiana is in order to get into transition, you need freedom of movement. That's when Tyrese Halliburton's at his best. Lou Dort is one of these guys that nobody, like the Knicks don't have anybody on their roster like this, okay? It's when the shot goes up, Lou Dort is focused on where the hell is Tyrese Halliburton, and I'm going to meet him early. I'm going to be physical with him. I'm going to dislodge him. I'm going to be active. It's a different defensive matchup. So that's going to take away one of the main attributes of what makes Indiana so prolific offensively because you can dislodge him off his position, and that is to their advantage.
What you're seeing on your screen here are the matchups these teams had during the regular season and just how stifling that OKC defense is. They're just all over the place, but there's a decent look, Monica, that obviously doesn't even come close. You just watched the Pacers knocking down these threes against the Knicks. The Pacers have been the best 3-point shooting team in the playoffs. That's how they've gotten here. If that's the opportunity against the OKC defense, I feel like that gives them a chance.
Well, yeah, Greeny, is a chance. You got to play the basketball games. But to Wendy's point, the reason that it worked against the Knicks is because they were putting Cat and JB in those pick and rolls, and the Knicks failed to communicate on those pick and rolls. So then you collapse off the penetration, everybody's rotating, and you have a shooter on the wings. The Thunder, however, are cool switching, so they don't have to create the same sort of, or they will not be able to collapse the defense in the same way. And then those guys can get out and contest. I will also add, and I think it's important to point out, the Thunder have actually been playing almost 2 points faster as far as trying to track the pace than the Pacers actually have. And so to me, as interesting in this matchup is what does this Pacers defense even look like in terms of standing up? Mind you, Minnesota was the 6th ranked defense in the league, and look what the Pacers did to them. So they're going to have to combat their own medicine in many ways in this series.
How about that side of it? Can Indiana hold up defensively against SGA and those guys?
Yeah, I would actually think that scheme-wise, you can try to limit SGA and his touches, and also I think you can attack SGA offensively. Like I think you're going to see multiple guys bring the ball up the court, maybe try to take away his legs and force guys like Jalen Williams to beat you. But trust me, like everybody's counting Indiana out. It will take a Herculean performance by Indiana. If Indiana wins a world championship, they will have every ounce of deserving to win it because they're beating the best team in the league.
Yeah.
OKC's the best team.
OKC has been the best team in the league, but Wendy, you have repeatedly pointed out since January 1st, Indiana has been the 2nd best team in the league. That is, I mean, that's what the numbers tell us. So the idea that this is as one-sided as people are making it and as the gamblers are making it, people may look at that number and look at it sideways, Wendy.
Yeah, Indiana's got a lot going for them, including their depth. You know, maybe Indiana hasn't seen a defensive team like the Thunder. Well, the Thunder hasn't seen a team that plays with the speed of the Pacers. And one of the things that I have seen repeatedly in this postseason is, regardless of what your scouting report says, regardless of what your practice dictates, teams cannot believe how fast Indiana plays. They are shocked at how they get the ball up the court. So we have seen Indiana really do great in game ones, including win the last 2 game ones on the road, because their style really offsets and really upsets their opponents. Let's see how Oklahoma City, despite having some days to get ready, handles that that fastball tonight.
You looked skeptical when he was saying
because Wendy is so sound and sage and very level-headed in these conversations, and I just watched Indiana, and this is why I'm excited for this, because there is true. Indiana wants to run off of a miss or make, which means they don't care whether, you know what I'm saying, you hit the shot or not. They do push the ball up fast, but I just think, like, OKC has the equal level of speed and depth in my mind, and so those blatant advantages, I'm really curious to see how it's going to play, which is why, Jay, to me, Dagnall and Carlisle are huge in this one.
So let's get to what ESPN Bet Sportsbook is saying, and Joe Fortenbaugh is here. I've got OKC minus 9.5 in game one. What is your preference there?
History not on the side of Indiana here. I would lay the big number. If you take a look at the last 20 NBA Finals, home team game one, 17-3 against the spread. 14 of those 17 spread covers are by double digits. These aren't just wins, these are blowouts. In the modern NBA, your offense is your floor, okay? Take a look at Charlotte and Washington, I believe. They were the lowest scoring teams in the NBA this year at 105 points per game. 10 years ago, that would have ranked 4th in the NBA. Now it ranks dead last. Everybody can score. Who can play defense? You guys hit on all the keynotes with OKC's defense. It's not just the best this year, it's one of the best of this century for a million metrics. This is a huge step up for Indiana. For OKC, it's another day at the office. I think they roll in the series, and I think they cover the 9.5.
Look, I'm going to give Indiana a fighter's chance, but there's no Karl Anthony Towns on the floor that you can pick on. There's no Jalen Brunson on the floor that you can pick on. I think that's what makes this OKC team elite, just not this year, but literally historically an NBA reference.
Rick Carlisle is a championship-winning coach. I thought he was brilliant in that 6-game series against the Knicks. He's had quite a few days to put some plan together. Let's see what his best punch is tonight in game one in Oklahoma City. Do more or less, brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Look into game one. Jay, the total is 9.5 assists tonight for Tyrese Halliburton. You go more or less?
I'm going to go less. I think OKC is going to take him out of transition a lot of times, a full court press, turning him multiple times. I think other players will be initiating the offense for the Indiana Pacers, so less would be my answer.
We had numbers earlier suggesting Halliburton struggled mightily in 2 matchups with OKC this year. Joe Fortenbaugh, 1.5 threes for Pascal Siakam tonight, more or less?
More, because the opportunities will be there. At least 5 attempts in both games against OKC this year. Why? Look at the way Oklahoma City plays defense. They want to clog the lanes, which allows you the opportunity when driving to kick out to open 3-point shooters. That's what happened to Anthony Edwards. The problem for Minnesota was they couldn't knock down the shots. Siakam will have the opportunities. I'd go over 1.5.
I like it. And then, Jay, let's go to the MVP. 33.5 total points tonight for SGA. You go more or less?
I'm going to go more. SGA is going to get his. Nobody is going to stop one of the best players in basketball from getting to his operational zones on the court. One of the best maybe to ever do that. Look, that shot reminds you of Kobe. I think how you limit Jalen Williams will be the key for Indiana.
Okay, if you like those bets, those predictions that Jay and Joe just made, we have made them a parlay on the ESPN Bet Sportsbook.